Hi, photographers, thanks for checking out another real-time edit. Today I have something a little different. So this hooded Merganser female, which she's got, that's one beautiful set of head feathers there, isn't it? She had like the biggest crest I've ever seen on a female. It actually stood out from all the other birds that were there. It was pretty interesting. In any case, this was shot pretty much in the dark. So let me bring up the settings here and show you those. Yeah, 100th of a second at f4 at 16,000 ISO. So it was really early in the morning, and I was just playing around, seeing if I could get her. I didn't know how long she was going to stay in front of me or any of the other birds. You know, these ducks are generally skittish and can move away pretty quickly. So when I get some opportunities with an interesting looking bird, I try to take advantage of it. You'll notice this also interesting, very purple splash reflection in the background. It was some lawn furniture on somebody's front yard or backyard, I guess it was. And it was just out on their dock that was out by the water's edge there. So it was kind of an interesting splash of color that, you know, obviously isn't natural, but I found it interesting just to kind of set the tone there. And there was also, you can see it was like a bluish kind of aqua colored chair there. In any case, I get asked very often what I do for noise reduction. And so I wanted to use this as an example since this is a really good high ISO image. So you can see 16,000 ISO. Again, this is not razor sharp, but totally passable to share. You know, you can see pretty good feather detail there, pretty good lines there, and the bill's relatively sharp. So not like I missed focus, but, you know, certainly pushing the settings, you're not getting the absolute best detail. But check out the noise level in here. 16,000 ISO, not too bad. So there's a little bit of color noise I'm seeing in it. So I'm going to start by doing some noise reduction here. We'll just increase the color noise reduction just a little bit more to try and clean that up. And yeah, something like that looks pretty good. And then I think I'm going to mess with the rest of the noise reduction after I adjust this image and get it to where I want. So first thing I'm going to do is lighten it up a bunch so that way I can crop it and find the water line in it. So I don't want to actually go, well, I mean, this light isn't that bad, but it's probably a little too much. And then let's just compose it. So something like that I think looks good. It's probably a little, that's decent with the exposure actually. And then I do want to kick those shadows up so I can get more detail in the bird's head there, and then I'll bring those blacks back down for contrast. Now, some weird blue tones showing up on the breast of the bird there, so I will warm it up and see if I can shift this white balance to make it a little bit more natural, because the camera definitely chose the super cool white balance, which makes sense because the light at that time of the morning was pretty darn blue. So that's looking pretty good. I'll clean up the rest of that blue in just 1 second, once I get in Photoshop anyway. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot more to do here in Lightroom other than maybe just some of that noise reduction, which I think we can increase a little bit more. So now I have the exposure kind of where I want it. Let's head on down to the noise reduction section. So I'm going to crank up the noise reduction a little bit more here. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to leave it where it was because anymore, and it's really starting to make the bird itself look kind of like painterly and smeary and just lacking detail. And at this point, I really don't see that much noise in the bird itself. So that's pretty good. These are pretty good settings for that. So I'm going to open this in Photoshop. Now, you can see a decent amount of noise and grain in the background there. And listen, everybody has different tolerance levels with the amount of noise. A lot of people I work with seem to have an aversion to any noise at all. I'm pretty tolerant of it myself. It doesn't bother me much at all, but you know, I can certainly, like there, we can clean it up in the background, and let me get rid of all sharpening here and make the background just look a little bit better. And let's see, we can even, I think if I back off the detail, it should kind of help smooth out that background a little bit. And there we go. Like that's looking a lot better in the background. And I mean, heck, I could go even more there. That's pretty darn smooth in the background, but that's too much to me. It just looks, I don't know. It looks like kind of fake at that point. So I do want some texture back there. So yeah, somewhere in there I think is pretty good. But as you can see here, let me zoom in again and let it kind of render. The duck is just lost everything. It looks painted. It's just all smooth. There's no detail in here. The feather detail back here is getting lost. It's just not natural looking. But I can simply mask that in. So I'll open this version in Photoshop in 1 second. There we go. Now we have two versions there. I'm just going to go back here and kind of reset all of that additional. There we go. Let's get the sliders back to where they were. I guess I need to go right about there. There we go. Just go back in the history, get this back to the normal detail in Lightroom. And then I'll head back over to Photoshop. There we go. And I'm going to lay the noise reduction layer on top. And then actually, I'll just add a layer mask. And all I'm going to do is paint the duck back out at this point, actually. So I'm just going to use probably just a big soft brush here, because I don't need a perfect edge. And what I'm looking to do is just bring the detail back on the duck itself along the edge here, and then try not to go into the background much or at all. And you can certainly see the grain and the noise is coming back on the bird, but I'm zoomed in way too far. So when I zoom back out to a normal 100% view, I should really not see that much noise. The reflection is pretty smooth and lacked detail to begin with. So if I look at the entire original noisy version, it's kind of smooth in there, but I'll put a little bit of that back. Not all of it, but just a little bit. And then right along the bottom edge here, I'll hit that with 100% so I can get the original sharpness from the non-noise reduction layer, or the less noise reduction layer, I guess I should say, because there was some noise reduction on that layer. And that should do it. So now I can just kind of check this out, and let's just fill this in on the inside here. So the duck is all back to the original, no noise or minimal noise reduction amount. And then I kind of missed that section right there apparently. And there we go. That should about do it. And then we'll just zoom back out to 100%. There we go. And yeah, not bad. I see a little bit more grain in there, but it's nothing crazy. But at least I have the detail back on the bird. So check that out. So before, after. And like when I zoom in, watch. There's after. So before, see how just lacking detail, all smooth and funky. And then after, all my detail comes back, and she's looking pretty good now. All right, so now that I have that done with the noise reduction, the background's looking a lot smoother. Let me start doing some dodging and burning here. So I think the whole kind of like the crest there, and then just the front of her, the bill, that nice orange on the bill there, the little bit of that little bit of glow along the top edge there could use some. I'm just accidentally hitting the background. Nice how she's got great catch light in the eye, but we'll get the front of the eye showing a little bit more there. I do want to warm up the duck itself, so we'll just go a little bit warmer, especially on the front here. There we go. You can see that really helped to kind of clean up some of that blue, but then let's get some of these warmer tones showing in there. The crest is showing quite nicely already, so I don't think I need to do much more on that. And then let's do some burning actually. So this background I think can go darker. It's funny, now that it's lighter you can see like the lines from the dock and everything back there, which is pretty amusing, but no big deal. That's where this was shot, it was kind of like an urban environment, and it's really cool that these ducks hang out in that particular area. So there we go. Just kind of, burning and darkening those areas a little bit more, just to kind of help bring attention into the duck itself. And gosh, not much more. I don't think there's anything more to do to this one. The colors are standing out nicely from the furniture, and to me, that's part of the story. That's why I took this shot, and that's why I kept this shot, because I had others with her away from those, and I think I kept some of them, but This one, it just was kind of an amusing story to me to see those interesting colors, and most people will probably see them and be like, "What on earth is that?" So anyway, there's our total before. You can see there's definitely a lot more noise in the background. After certainly cleans that up. Darkening it helped remove some of that noise reduction, plus the heavy noise reduction I did. But doing it on its own layer is an important thing, and painting it in where it needs to be and not where it needs to be, and basically removing it where it shouldn't be, is key to doing that noise reduction stuff. So I don't use any of those special plugins. I do have the Topaz plugins, but I could have done it on this one. But I don't know. I've found that one just seems to, it does some weird stuff sometimes. It just makes some weird things in certain areas. I guess I could probably, let me see if I have the plugin installed right now. I don't think I have it installed in Photoshop. I'd have to install it again. So I was going to say I could try it real quick, but I think I uninstalled it and just never got back to it because this pretty much does a trick for me. But I do know people that really love that plugin, so if you like that and you're using it, feel free to use it. I think it's great to use. It's fine to use, I should say. But do it on a layer and then mask out where it shouldn't be, where it's messing areas up, because I see that happen quite often with images, and they just look so over-processed and not natural. And, the other thing is, we're viewing this image. I'm viewing this image right now on a 27-inch 5K monitor. So it's really sharp and detailed, and when I'm viewing it 100%, like this image is huge on my screen right now, so I'm seeing a lot of that detail. Well, guess what? When I share it online, or if I share it on Instagram, like that's what I'm going to be seeing, and so all that noise is just completely non-existent at that point. So I'd rather maintain the detail that I want in the photo versus, just kind of smearing it up and getting rid of all that noise. In any case, now that I'm done that noise spiel, let me jump back into Lightroom here, show you a total before and after. We should see a pretty significant difference on this one. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Definitely underexposed this one too much. I should have, I did have some negative exposure compensation dialed in, and I shouldn't have had that much dialed in. It would have helped me out, but it probably would have made my shutter speed a little bit slower at that point as well. So, this is the final image. Not the most amazing image I've ever taken, but it worked out nicely, and hopefully learning how I apply that noise reduction selectively was a helpful thing. All right, if you want to learn more about how I do everything I do, especially with post-processing, head on over to rayhennessy.com, go to the workshops menu, check out the online workshops. This is where you can see all the online options I have, including the remote sessions where we work together one-on-one, the online Lightroom wildlife photography course, it's all Lightroom, all about wildlife photography. Shows you everything I know. The online bird photography course, learn how I shoot in the field, learn about gear, lighting, technique, all that kind of stuff is fun to check out. And then the mentorships where we can work on an ongoing basis, and it's a great way to kind of grow your photography a little bit quicker. And I give you lots of feedback on what to do when you're shooting as well as post-processing. Thanks so much. If you're liking these, please feel free to share them with your friends and fellow photographers. That helps me out a lot, spreading the word and getting more people checking this stuff out. So thanks everybody. I'll see you on the next one.